from the early centuries up through medieval times, most of the saints I know were either religious figures like bishops or monks, or they were royalty or martyrs. If there was any reason for focusing on these type of groups of saints, I was wondering what was it, and specifically in relation with Saint Carlo Acutis.
Yeah, I think that there's no real difference between the church's approach in canonizing a saint, whether it's a priest, religious, or a layperson. It's the same principle. The person that's being investigated had to have shown signs of heroic virtue when they lived. Doesn't mean they had to be miracle workers or things like that, but they showed heroic virtue. Look at the little flower.
Oh, yeah.
She wasn't, performing big miracles and such. She was a very, very holy nun. How old was she? 24 when she died?
I don't know.
24, I think, or 27. No, I think it's 24. And what you find is you have a bishop or some priest or someone who was close to this particular person, whether it's Carlo Acutis or Pier Giorgio Frassati or the little flower, who says, you know what, I believe this person was a saint. And then that person has to have a bishop who is willing to begin the process. That's the key, to begin the process. And then the process of canonization, when you get a bishop signed on, and he goes to the, the dicastery for the causes of saints. Although now I think it's subsumed into a larger dicastery. I can't keep up with this stuff, Cy. But anyway, it used to be called for the causes of saints. I think it still is, but now it's in another larger dicastery, and I digress. But so the process then begins to discern, number one, was this person truly devoted to the Catholic faith? Was there any scandal in their life? Did they not live the faith? Now, that doesn't mean it could never happen. Otherwise, St. Augustine wouldn't be a saint, right? St. Augustine lived 13 years in an illicit union, and then another 2 years in another illicit Augustine had his problems, right?
Right.
But he had a radical conversion. So it's not that the person has to be a saint their whole life and never, had mortal sins like the little flower. No. But the key is the church then discerns, was this person true to their conversion? What were the signs of heroic virtue that they performed? And that comes in very, very large and different ways, like Carlo Acutis, what that boy did in 15 years. Was it 15?
Yes, 15
I mean, 15 years, what he created, it's still here with us. His websites and so forth. Just the one on the miracles is awesome, and apparitions and so forth. I mean, what that kid did was extraordinary. But then you get to the big kicker, Matt, and that is the church then looks for confirmation from heaven. Now, the Holy Father has the ultimate say. Now, the normative way the church does this is 2 miracles, both in the process before beatification and canonization. Miracles happen, and that confirms what the witnesses, and by the way, to back up, they call enormous numbers of witnesses, right? And you also have, you used to have the devil's advocate. People went nuts, Matt and Cy, when Pope Francis did away with the devil's advocate, and people, that's terrible. No, I think this is just Tim Staples, but I think the term was off-putting. Devil's advocate,
but it's awesome though.
Yeah,
I mean, it sounds so good in movies and stuff.
That's right. But but it's not that process doesn't continue. Of course it does.
Yeah.
The saint in question or saint to be is scrutinized big time. But it's not so much one person that kind of gathers this thing and, all right, I'm going to find all the negative stuff that I can. No, it's the whole process is one of scrutinizing and such. So I think people made a lot of hay over a lot of nothing about the devil's advocate. But the point is, my friend Matt, is that the church is looking for now confirmation from heaven. So it's not so much that the person is a priest. It's, was he a faithful priest? It's not so much he's a religious. Was he a faithful religious who manifested heroic virtue in his day-to-day life? And it's not just that the person is a lay married person or a lay single person or whatever. It's all about the faith and that manifestation of heroic virtue. Does that make sense, Matt?
Yes, sounds awesome. So maybe also you would say that the Lord raises up types of saints that are relevant for that specific time.
Absolutely.
In the world.
That is
right.
That's a great point. You know, in the early church and in the early centuries, no doubt, in the era, you know, and we forget. We think we have a lot of problems today, and we do. I think in the moral arena, it's probably worse than it's ever been in the history of the world, generally speaking. But we've had a lot worse problems. In the 4th century, just the Arian crisis alone. For those who don't know, we're not talking about guys that shave their heads, white supremacists here. We're talking a priest in Alexandria by the name of Arius, who is the father of a heresy that almost tore the world apart. At one point, at around the year 350 to 355, Athanasius writes, "I awoke one day to discover the whole world had become Arian." And so you can see it. I mean, to your point, Matt, that in a time like this, you had great saints like Saint Hilary of Poitiers, Saint Athanasius, Saint Augustine, a little bit later, Saint Augustine, Saint Jerome. So many great saints arose in that 4th century, and they were almost across the board priests and bishops, because they were the ones that were doing the battle. And so, of course, they're getting all the airtime. So, yeah, different times over the centuries, you're going to have weighted the saints being canonized, being bishops and such because of times like that. But in a day and age like ours, where we're talking about a church now that's 1.3 billion, okay, we are no longer in a position where bishops and the Pope can just run the show.
Yeah,
Cy Kellett.
right.
It's laity. One of the prophetic aspects of Vatican Council II, of which I am a huge fan, is the decree on the laity. Because we were in that kind of clerical, you know, you can oversimplify, but there was a clericus
Yes.
you know, it was kind of a mentality in the 30s, 40s, 50s leading up to the council. And the council prophetically said, guys, that's not what's going to change the world. It's not going to be the bishops, and of course it's all of us, but it's going to be the laity that are going to have the burden of evangelizing this world in a way like we've never seen before. And beautiful saints like Pier Giorgio Frassati and Carlo Acutis are saints for such a time as this.
Matt, thanks for the call. Thanks to everybody who called. Sorry I did not get to everybody, but I started Tim off with some long conversations, so we didn't have time. I apologize for that. But